Shalom. Call halal Yahweh by Shalom Shai, by Hashem Rakakwadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders. Salutations to all my fellow laborers doing this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so now more so than ever. To the scattered elect, scattered among the heathen nations around the four corners of the earth, that be like unto the speckled bird and the aquaf that are listening and learning to you, I say Shalom. This is your brother Malcolm coming at you with another lesson. And disclaimer, I do not own or profit of this footage that I'm about to use. It's for educational purposes only. And there'll be no need for a deep line of scriptures and breakdowns. We're going to read Psalms, the 64th chapter. Let the video play about 6 minutes of the video and then finish with a scripture. All right, so this is Psalms 64, and it reads, "Hear my voice, O power, in my prayer. Preserve my life from fear of the enemy. Hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity." Because they do in secrecy, and they write laws and things of that nature to oppress us. All right, and to make us look as if we're something that we're not. Playing the victim villain. Verse 3. "Who whet their tongue like a sword and bend their bow to shoot their arrows, even bitter words." They outright lie. All right? They just outright lie. As a matter of fact, let's grab Psalms 94 and 20, and it reads, "Shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee, which frameth mischief by law?" And that's what they do. They write laws that are actually completely against the Bible, though Edomite societies, their Christian societies, supposedly are Bible-based societies, but yet they disregard the law of the Bible and the God of the Bible. All right, verse 21, "They gather themselves together against the soul of the righteous and condemn the innocent blood." And this is what they do, man. That's why the prison houses are full of Israelites, just like the scriptures say they would be. I believe that's Isaiah 42 and 22, if I'm not mistaken. All right, the prison houses are full of Israelites from law that has been framed, mischief that was framed by law. All right. Verse 4, back in Psalm 64. "They that shoot in secret at the perfect suddenly do shoot at him and fear not. They encourage themselves in an evil matter. They commune of laying snares privily. They say, who shall see them? They search out iniquities. They accomplish a diligent search, both the inward thought of every one of them, and the heart is deep. But power shall shoot at them with an arrow. Suddenly shall they be wounded. So they shall make their own tongue to fall upon themselves. All that see them shall flee away." And that is what's happening. That's the main purpose of me reading this scripture. This chapter is that scripture. All right? Because Esau's tongue is falling upon themselves. He's exposing himself, his own wickedness. Why? Because they are a house divided, and a house divided cannot stand. All right? Verse 9, "And all men shall fear and shall declare the work of power, for they shall wisely consider of his doing. The righteous shall be glad in Yahweh and shall trust in him, and all the upright of heart shall glory." So without any further ado, let's let this video play. And this is a 25-minute video, but we're only going to actually watch, let play about 6 minutes of it, just to get to the point of the whole matter. All right, so with that, sit back and enjoy.
Welcome to Pushback. I'm Aaron Mate. After its assassination of Iranian General Qasem Soleimani, the Trump administration predicted that Soleimani's murder would be welcomed across the Middle East. Well, Iran has responded with a multi-city funeral that saw millions of people turn out to mourn Soleimani's murder and to call for revenge. Meanwhile, in Iraq, the Iraqi parliament has voted overwhelmingly to call for U.S. forces to leave. Joining me to discuss what all this means is Colonel Lawrence Wilkerson. He is the former Chief of Staff to Secretary of State Colin Powell, currently a distinguished professor at the College of William and Mary. Welcome, Professor Wilkerson, to Pushback. More than any other former government official, I'd say you have been sounding the alarm about the Trump administration's march to war on Iran since pretty much the day Trump took office. What is your response to Qasem Soleimani's murder by the U.S., and did you ever fathom that the U.S. under Trump would do something so brazen?
Aaron, I knew that they would try to find, they being principally the two warmongers that are most prominent, Mike Pompeo and his colleague over at the Pentagon, Secretary Esper, Christian fundamentalists from West Point, if you will. I knew that they would try to find something that would push the president over the edge, so to speak. I had no idea that it would be something as violative of international law and as dramatic as this, but it's not in the sense that I just said. It's not a surprise.
What do you think the motive was here? What do you think was really driving this, and which triggered Trump's ultimate decision to do something so brazen?
The motive of people like Pompeo, unquestionable, and Esper and Lindsey Graham and others, is war. They want a war with Iran. Motive of Bibi Netanyahu, and to a certain extent, I think Mohammed bin Salman. They all want the United States to at least bomb Iran, at least exercise some of the packages we have, the war plan packages we have, and bomb Iran. And that's their motivation. Now, Trump is a different animal altogether. Trump, I don't think, really wants a full-blown war or even a major bombing campaign against Iran. He knows that'll drive a lot of his base away from him, because a lot of his base voted for him because he said he was against these stupid, endless wars. And they see that there may be something questionable about that, especially if he brings us into yet another war in Southwest Asia, in the Middle East. So Trump, I think, did this more for domestic political purposes than anything else. He's imperiled right now. The impeachment grows apace. There's a revelation every day. There are going to be more revelations, and he's going to get in deeper and deeper political water, and he's going to erode his base as that happens. And so I think he did this as much to deflect attention away from his political problems as he did to do something dramatic with regard to Iran.
Colonel Wilkerson, having served in the Bush administration and witnessed the doctoring and manipulation of evidence to make a phony case for invading Iraq, I'm wondering about the parallels you see in the Trump administration today. You have Trump citing alleged intelligence claiming that Qasem Soleimani was involved in planning an imminent attack on U.S. forces. You have Mike Pence making false claims about Iran's ties to al-Qaeda and 9/11. And you have Secretary of State Mike Pompeo sort of echoing Donald Rumsfeld's comments about freedom being untidy when he says, speaking to Meet the Press, that ultimately this attack, this assassination, will make the U.S. safer, quote, even if there's a little noise here in the interim, unquote.
What I would say is these lies are not nearly as good as Dick Cheney's lies or Donald Rumsfeld's lies. Go back and look at some of those press conferences that those guys conducted. I mean, their lies were pretty well rounded and pretty well shaped. These lies are risible. They're laughable, especially Pence's. There is no connection between Soleimani and al-Qaeda. They hated al-Qaeda. Soleimani was helping us, as were other Iranians of his type, in Afghanistan in the beginning days of our operation there to oust the Taliban and go after al-Qaeda. They continued to help us right up to the Axis of Evil speech that was pretty much impolitic for George Bush to do at that time, because they were in fact helping us. And even with that, even with being included in the Axis of Evil, they were still helping us right up to the Bonn Conference and the selection of Karzai to be the, at that time, interim leader of Afghanistan, as we brought the Taliban down and chased al-Qaeda out. So their comments are just risible. And this comment by Pompeo that democracy or freedom or whatever is just untidy. Remember what happened after that. Rumsfeld was fired Remember that we had an insurgency that killed thousands of American boys and girls and wounded thousands more. Remember that we lost the war in Iraq and started the ravages we see in the Middle East today. Everything that's happening in the Middle East today, in Southwest Asia, that is bad, the United States started when it invaded Iraq in 2003. So these guys are not even the caliber, the talented liars that I had around me in the Bush administration.
A moment of silence to let that sink in. This is Job 15:6. Thine own mouth condemned thee, and not I. Yeah, thine own lips testify against thee. Close the book on it. Call hello Yahweh Bashem Abishai Bashem Rakak Wadash Wa Abba Babal Shalom.